Hi, this is Bobby Warren with Worcester Media Group LLC, and I'm meeting today with Todd Jones, who talking with him, it seems like he's got his hands in a little bit of everything. Todd, can you tell us what are some of the things that you're involved in?
Well, I do run a local, I call it hyper local site. Kind of talks, I like to do a lot of storytelling in the site. We haven't done much of that in a while, but talk about some of the events that are coming up locally. I kind of got the idea from Brian Clark doing the whole hyper local thing. And that's one thing I do. I'm getting closer to where I can begin monetizing that. I run Copy Flight, which is kind of a copy/content strategy service. So I'd like to help companies with their content ideas and creating strategy for that. And then I created a framework a couple of years ago called the Website Copy Framework, and it was meant to help. As you know, it can be hard to get a website launched because of content. So it was meant to help, originally help folks like yourself, digital marketing consultants, get content from their client, walk them through the process of some of these things. And then I started by selling it straight. And then I added a white label version where you can put your own logo and all that kind of stuff on there. And I do that. And I'm ahead of well, last year I started something I called Copy Chat Show. It's a YouTube deal. I've played with the idea of turning it into a podcast, but I think I'm going to leave it as a YouTube thing. And then I have dreams of another podcast, which will be straight storytelling type stuff. So it's just kind of maybe a passion, fun project, if you will. So.
All right, so I was in journalism for like, can I say decades? And so I was in journalism, and I got out, we were a family-owned newspaper. The family sold to $1 billion corporation, and you know things weren't the same. I'm not going to say it's their fault, my fault, or whatever, but things weren't the same, and I wanted to get out, and so I ended up starting my own SEO company, content creation services, social media management, whatever. And then I was like, you know, and this is kind of like, I don't know, I'm conflicted. I'm of two minds. One, it's like I'm thinking, why does anybody want to stay in journalism, when newspapers are consolidating, and the big player in the game now, which is Gatehouse/Gannett, they're cutting, right? I think the newspaper I was at, when I was city editor, I managed 11 reporters in 2 counties. We were in a rural area. Mm-hmm. And now I think there are maybe 3 reporters in 2 counties. And I'm just talking news. I'm not getting into sports or anything. And so, one, it's like, I want to help people get out of journalism, right? So it's like, run, don't walk, get out of journalism. So I have my afterjournalism.com website, in which I'm trying to help them. Now, the conflicted part, where I'm of two minds, is we need good journalists. The shame is that I make more money writing a blog post for a personal finance blog, right, than I ever got paid at the newspaper. And we're talking a personal finance blog that probably does not have the reach that a newspaper does. And I was making more money with just that one client than I was making at the newspaper. So what I did is I started afterjournalism.com to try to help them. And like, one of the things that do you follow Ross Simmons, the coolest cool on Twitter?
Yep.
Man, he is fantastic. You know, I think he put the social in social media because
I like how he uses social media. It's
yeah,
not just cat gifs and memes with him. And actually, the way I would do social media for content marketing now is much in line with what I learned from Ross.
yeah. So at the coolest cool, he is incredible.
Great guy.
And so anyway, you know, as I'm thinking about how I can help journalists, right? You know, Ross said, "Hey, you don't need permission to do all these things." And one of them, he says, was sell on Gumroad. Gum is in Mary Road. And like, I'm like, what the heck is Gumroad? So I find out what it is. Right now, I wanted to create a course in content optimization. That is something I've found a lot of success with, right? So I want to build a course, but what I discovered is with Gumroad, I can build that course piece by piece, right? So I started with an ebook. This is how I do it, right? You know, I started out selling it for $47. You know, those who bought it $47 were paying a lot for it. But what I like about Gumroad is that every time I add to it, you know, the value gets better. All the previous users get all the new content and they don't pay anymore. So I kept the price the same. So now I got two ebooks now. I got a checklist and I got 6 videos of how I do things, from writing a blog outline, keyword research, how I use tools like phrase.io, which is content creation, content optimization tool. Right. You know, I was doing all this stuff before Phrase came along. And so anyway, I created this thing on Gumroad. I started adding to it, and my sales were like this, you know, and it's hard for me to sell my stuff. So I'm in a Phrase insider group, right? And a guy says, "Hey, is there a book on how to use Phrase?" I said, you know, look, I don't have a book, but I created the content optimization course. I was calling it guide, then I changed it to kit as it got more, and now I changed it to course now that there's videos and checklists and stuff like that. So I said, "Hey, I created this thing. You know, if you're interested, I can DM you the link," right? So this was late at night. I go to bed. I wake up. So I had sent him the link that night. Then I go to bed, and I wake up in the morning and I got all these Facebook notifications that, "Hey, I want the link too. I want the link too. Can you share me the link?" So it's like I spent a day sending the links. And then I finally posted it in the thread because they said, "Hey, they won't mind because it promotes the product." I'm like, "All right." But then everyone's still like, "Give me the link, give me the link." So it's like I almost spent the day sending out the link, and my sales skyrocketed, right? So I try to sell the thing, get a couple of sales. I just tell the guy, "Hey, I got something," right? And so I decided, like, you know, I said, "Here, use this discount. You'll get $27 off. So instead of 47, get it for $20, right?" I already created it, right? It's sitting there. So I'd rather get 20 than nothing, right?
Sure.
And so, like, I am not the smartest when it comes to, like, well, it has more value, you need to be charging this. 20 was fair for me, right? Is it worth more than 20? Certainly. But I didn't care. So anyway, in a 3-day period, right, I made more in those digital sales at the discounted price, right, than I did a week at the newspaper. So it's like, maybe this is something, you know, other journalists can do, and I can kind of share my experience. So with that in mind, like, you know, I want to write a blog post. And so I put a call out on Twitter and I said, "Hey, who has Gumroad products? I want to talk to you." And wouldn't you know, the redneck coffee snob himself, hailing from Conway, Arkansas, says, "Yeah, I got a product on
Yeah.
Gumroad." So, can you kind of share, with someone who's like journalists, I think have their experience, their research
Mhm.
ability, problem solving ability, their, researching
Mhm.
content, writing content, turning it around on deadline. I think they would be the perfect type of person to create content, digital products that could be sold on Gumroad. Can you share a little bit about your experience, like how you got involved with it, and and just kind of in any terms you want to say, your experience selling on Gumroad?
Yeah. So first of all, I think you're right about journalists. I think they're ideal candidates to go into content marketing and to do the more storytelling part of it as well, um, which is an area that those of us in the digital space are not as good at as we probably should be. So, and it never occurred to me that a journalist might not know that, hey, you can actually create this thing and put it up to sell. So now I'm thinking, well, okay, because I know a few. But it takes the headache of doing a e-cart on your site out of it, basically. Um, and so the way I looked at it when I did website copy framework, which is what I sell on Gumroad, to be fair, I'm toying with the idea of moving it to my website and selling it there. But there's a headache to try to figure that out. So what tools am I going to use to do this?
Right.
So
Have you seen the price of like easy digital downloads? That's expensive.
no, I haven't.
Oh, I think it's
But
expensive, but yeah,
but
go
if
ahead.
you are testing something, in my opinion, Gumroad is awesome because without even having to pay Gumroad money, you can put
Yeah,
a product up. Now they're going to take their cut, but anytime you sell something online, a cut is coming out of what you sell it for. So you cannot sell it without a cut coming out, period. If you
right.
go to your local bank and get a merchant account, you're using there and they're still going to take a percentage out. If you use Stripe, they're going to take a percentage out of it. If you're using WooCommerce or some other, even Shopify, you're probably going to have a fee on top of a price and sometimes a monthly fee. So the cool thing about Gumroad for somebody who's just wading into this whole idea is, oh, I can write something. And some people may look for an alternative place to sell to Amazon because don't know what's going to happen with Amazon going forward. Um, it's a great option for a journalist going into their own work because you can get it out there. They have subscriptions now, I believe, memberships. They're adding features all the time.
Yeah.
Some people would use what is the name of the monthly recurring tool that some journalists use for their independent articles and stuff.
Is it Substack?
No, I'm thinking about drawing a blank. So a lot of digital people use it too. I think David Gerhardt's got a newsletter type thing on top of that, but it's only fans for the rest of us. Anyway, but Gumroad is nice because you can really test if something's worth doing. So like your product and my product's like, okay, will anybody actually buy this? I have this, I have it pulled together. You upload all the documents, so you don't have to have a Dropbox account anywhere to store it or anything like that. There's no, you really don't have to deal with the tech so much other than what you deal with in Gumroad. And then when I built my landing page originally, but the vendor actually built it for me. I gave him the Gumroad thing, and he did a little. We using Beaver Builder. He used a module, and if you clicked on Buy Now, it pops up with what you see on Gumroad,
Yeah.
with the summary and all that kind of stuff, and then you click to buy, and you don't even have to leave my website, which is kind of cool. So
Yeah.
you can do it either way, but it's such a great, easy way to get started trying something out without you having to have. So I bought some stuff on Gumroad years ago. So I realized, hey, I have a Gumroad account. When I started doing this, like, oh, I better, update some stuff, update my
Yeah.
email address and whatnot. And I went ahead and made a profile. So, and apparently it's been recommended a time or two because in my little dashboard, I'll see, you can see where your visitors come from. And
Yeah.
once in a while, you'll see one that says recommended. So, okay, it was recommended. Also, if you know who Kaylee Moore is, um, she is a top-notch content producer as well. Did the podcast with Paul Jarvis and the Creative Course and all that jazz. She put out, and I actually like the idea so much that I'm looking at possibly doing something similar, but a kit for writing your about page. So I have no idea what she does, but I think some similarities there. But I have my little thing as well, and I'm thinking about doing
Yeah.
the same thing, and I might just throw that up on Gumroad as well. So
Right.
an easy peasy thing. Now I will say this: if you were looking for a platform that you own or that you manage that has all that in it, that might be a little bit frustrating to you because you still have to log into Gumroad, but you can export your list. They allow you to do that. You do have to be careful about exporting someone who does not want marketing emails, but I can
Yeah.
go in and like next week, I'm doing a training with iThemes, and I'm going to kind of consider it an office hours for my website copy framework. So I'm going to go in and email my list and say, hey, next Thursday, I'm doing this training. It's free. It didn't cost anything. I'd like for you to come and show up, because I'm going to do a discount at the end, for the white label version. And so, there's a lot of upside to Gumroad, especially if you're getting started out, you're not very tool savvy. Maybe you got another platform for your website and you don't want to hassle with, trying to put together, connect technologies together. And you say, well, then you can put a link or something that goes to your Gumroad store or to your
Yeah.
product. And that way, I mean, it's just such an easy way to get started. And the user interface is pretty clean. Can be a little confusing at times, but it's pretty clean, and they have a lot of documentation. And there's enough people out there who use it that can help you. I think there's a Gumroad group I'm in or something like that. Facebook group. So.
Yeah, might need to look at that because I'm not in it. But yeah, I mean, you bring out some excellent points that, I've read stuff where, people would actually start selling a product even before it was created.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think another friend of mine did that where, because I actually, and I'm hoping to interview him as well, Mustafa. He created like a little a cold email book, and he said, hey, would you be willing to spend $5? I think it was $5, may have been $10 on a book on how I successfully used cold emails. And I'm like, yeah, because, for us, like we're learning every day, we got our work we got to do, but we're learning every day. And what's 5, 10, 15, 20, 50, $100, $200, $300, if it's going to turn around and produce revenue for us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not a sunken cost for us. It's like, this is going to bring in a new stream of revenue. And so anyway,
you can do what he did, set it really low, or you can, I think there's a thing in there where you can say, pay what you like.
Yeah.
So I also used Buy Me a Cup of Coffee a couple years ago. It was really cool. It's similar to that. I like both products. So Buy Me a Cup of Coffee is good for a situation like that where people want to pay you something, but you don't really want to charge for it. It's like, hey, can I give you $5 to $10?
Yeah.
Well, and then you can direct it where you want it, that money. So you can say, oh, I want to go to my PayPal account, or I want to go to my Stripe account, whatever.
Yeah.
But you have a similar option in Gumroad. So if you say, especially if you're testing something, hey, I got this, like he did with the email. I think one of the first things I got from Gumroad was from the Copy Monk guy, and it was an email course type thing, like a big ebook. And so, yeah, it's a good place to try out emails, cold reach emails. Anything that you teach somebody, which obviously like a journalist, I tell you what, journalists are great with storytelling. If you could go out and find a package of stories where you interview them and it has a broader theme, you could sell that on Gumroad. I mean, there's so many things that you could sell.
Yeah.
Um, so do an if you're doing an independent investigative piece and you don't have, well,
Yeah.
sell on Gumroad, whatever. So it's a
Yeah.
great place to start for sure.
So do you mind me asking, like, what were you doing before you're doing what you're doing now? Because you have your own company, right?
Yeah, that's what you could say. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all individual people, right?
Yeah.
I've got this interesting career trajectory. When I was younger, I was going to go into ministry. Went to seminary for that, and health stuff kind of derailed. And I worked out of college. I had a job in vending, and when I moved to Fort Worth to go to school, I worked in vending there. Then I had to, after several surgeries, I didn't go back to that place, and I got on a bookstore eventually, which was good for me. I liked it. It was never, I never made that much money, and I did it for like 8 years before I moved to Conway.
Hmm.
And but I had started dabbling in website building and social media, and one thing led to another, and here I am. So and I never, I started thinking about content marketing probably 10 years ago or so. Got hooked on Copy Blogger and Content Marketing Institute and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And but the thing is, those people tend to, content marketing is something that the big B2B companies tend to use. And that's fine. They have the budget for it, whatever. I still think your average company can use content marketing, and they haven't used it as much. I mean, that would be fun to me, is to do content strategy for your average local business, but
Yeah.
it's
What
getting closer, I think.
I think content marketing is one of those things where everybody has a different definition of what it is. What what's your view of content marketing?
Well, I will tell a story to illustrate, I guess, what my definition is. Now, the classic one people would like to talk about is John Deere 100 years ago,
Right.
put out the magazine, blah, blah, blah. When I was a kid, little kid, like under 7 or so, we got the Sears Wish catalog, big, thick thing. And this is content marketing, I guess. My brother and I would go through that thing and pick out what we wanted for Christmas and show it to our parents. And they didn't always buy it from Sears. Most of the time they didn't. They went wherever they could go and afford it to get what it is we wanted. So it was content. And by the way, a lot of people bought from Sears because they had that magazine. So and people did business with Sears. People now don't know what Sears is; it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But they put out those magazines years ago, and of course, that's not exactly a great description, because you typically think about content as something that's educational, inspiring, but it is the ideal of creating content, um, which you can put on your own platform or someone else's platform, that more or less nurtures a relationship with someone to eventually become a customer. I don't know if that's a good definition, but that's kind of how I
But
see it.
yeah,
And
because like
there's a lot of channels, from your website copy, your own website content. Like, these days, a lot of people, and here's another place where journalists can plug in, by the way. A lot of companies have their own media page, and they do their own press releases, and they put it right there on the website. And but you have content on your own page, whether it's a press release, a story about a customer, some educational piece, or a culture, what I call cultural article, where you talk about, hey, we all went to volunteer at the Humane Society this weekend and got to play with pets and whatever. You have those kind of articles as well. That's all content. And then the goal is to actually get people to click buy. But sometimes this stuff's done on social media. Sometimes it's done in emails. Hopefully it is done in emails. Sometimes that's done as guest articles on trade or bigger websites. So that's kind of how I see content marketing.
yeah, because you know I think early on I viewed content marketing as this idea of creating content that is going to drive sales, drive awareness,
Yep.
drive traffic or whatever. And then some people looked at content marketing as basically what you're doing off your site, so the content that's elsewhere. And like you said, there's so many different channels. It could be a press release in a local newspaper or on a newspaper website. It could be, a guest post somewhere else. But so it's kind of like my original thinking was just content that's produced to drive marketing, sales, conversions, and not necessarily just the off-site, off-page stuff.
And I have been saying in the last year, and I know people question me or maybe raise their eyebrows about this a little bit, but the lines are blurring through some of this stuff. The ideal between, in the website industry, the age old question is, what is your favorite host? What is the best host? You hear that question all the time.
Yeah.
And everybody rolls their eyes collectively because it's a matter of preference as well as what your needs are. But in the content world, the question is, what's the different, how do you define content versus copy? And so but I think the lines are blurring between, because the ideal is content is to be educational and inform, maybe inspire. But yeah, there should still be a call to action to take an action of some kind. And then what I have seen is the better content writers are using elements of copywriting in their content. And so to me, the lines are blurring a little bit. The lines between all this stuff is blurring. SEO, content, copy, digital, social media. I said a while back, and I think some people agree with me on this, but maybe one person. But the social media manager of 10 years ago is now a digital marketer. I don't think you can do just a social media manager, because if you're in social media working like a job for a company, not only do you have to come up with social media, which includes images, good graphic images, and doing the graphics and all that kind of stuff, which makes you a graphic designer by default, right? You also usually have to deal with paid advertising with the platforms. So hey, we need to do some paid advertising on LinkedIn, or we need to do it on Twitter, or we need to do it on YouTube or Facebook. Well, you got to know about all that stuff. I think the social media people today are really more digital marketers.
You're talking about all the different things you need to know. It's like, oh my, it's what's
and
funny.
You don't just learn that you don't flip the switch and learn that. So the people I know that are in social media, they do a lot of stuff, and they don't get the credit for it.
Right.
And and those of us in digital marketing, maybe who don't deal with higher end clients, who do some of this for ourselves and a few clients, we see that. We see but if you're in a big enough company to have budget for and have a social media manager, they're really a digital marketer. Because, now maybe they can go whip out a graphic on Canva. That's typically what I do. But that's not the same skill as opening up Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop and making a graphic that way. That's some value there. And if you're lucky enough to be in a situation like that, you might have a graphic artist on your team. And then, but if you don't, then that's your problem.
So like, when we talked earlier, I was saying how, what I do with my company is I work with local clients, right? And then I also provide white label services. Like, you talked about your Gumroad product where it's a white label where, hey, here is everything you need to know about creating compelling copy for your website. Slap your logo on it, right? And you got, so I provide services to people like me. And so I hooked up with just a wonderful digital marketer out of the San Diego area. And it's incredible the people she has on her team, right? Project manager. She has digital ad specialists. She has like I'm one of like two SEO guys. Like one handles the technical SEO. I handle the SEO content, right? She has someone's for ads. She has someone's for graphics. And she knows about everything, right? But she's not, she'll tell you she's not an expert in all these areas. So she wants to hire good people who are, and it's just so much. Like, like on a given day, what are we doing? Like I'm creating social media videos or editing, 3 camera shot videos, social media content, SEO content, create SEO audit, optimizing content. Maybe like I don't I don't deal with like ads a lot. Like for some clients will boost their post, their Facebook post, but I don't get into bidding on words and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like what's a typical day like for you? What are you dabbling in?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, today I'm talking to you.
Ah,
I'm trying to finish my presentation for next week.
oh
I need
yeah,
to,
you got that.
um, and next week I'm actually supposed to have a procedure I was supposed to have 2 weeks ago or last week, Friday, but didn't work out. We had a massive snowstorm 2 weeks ago and it pushed everything off. And
Yeah.
so I have that procedure next Friday. So Thursday I have the presentation, and then I get to relax by having a procedure in the hospital the next day. So,
Uh,
uh, but yeah, working on that kind of stuff. I do an article for a company called Main WP, which is a WordPress management service or plugin, and I enjoy doing those. That's a weekly deal, so that kind of keeps
nice.
me from having too much of a lazy week. Just
Yeah.
really trying to figure out what my future is, and I'm thinking I'm getting closer to that.
Yeah.
um, and I've gotten in a couple of paid groups, which one I haven't been as part of as much as the other one, and just trying to learn. What I have these ideas about storytelling. So what's that going to look like, and how am I going
Yeah.
to sell that service to people, and then
Right.
what's the next iteration for the website copy framework, those kind of things. So and I've had some health issues this year and not felt the best, so I'm starting to feel better. So this week has been much more productive in that regard.
Yeah.
Not sitting here staring at the Facebook scroll as much this week. So
Yeah. All right. Hey, well, I appreciate you taking time talking about your experience on Gumroad and kind of some good advice for journalists who are looking to leave their professions. And as uh, as I told you, I'm kind of conflicted. We need good journalists, but they're just not getting paid what they're worth. And I think, for that reason, I'm thinking everybody should, start their own business, but not everybody's willing to do that. They they like the idea of benefits, vacation, and sick days, but last year my business, the revenue I generated, now I got a lot of expenses as well, but the revenue I generated last year would have taken me 2 years and 8 months as a journalist. And I got paid good as a journalist, but not great. You know, I mean, there's kids with, high school diplomas coming out of vocational schools, making more than I did as a journalist. But I love journalism, but it just,
journalism's in flux, trying to figure out what it wants to do when it grows up. And
yeah,
I have a lot of thoughts about that as well. And I don't envy people in journalism, and
right,
we should never lose journalism.
yeah,
But it's a frustrating, and the digital marketing thing has been a disruptor in a lot of industries, and journalism is no different. So and journalists can be the best storytellers. And
yeah,
so storytelling, once B2B companies realize they need to have storytelling, I don't think they all realize that.
yeah,
That's part of what Chris Lemon's article was about, is like, look, don't load your homepage with features, tell me what I need, how you're going to solve my problem. I'm like,
right,
I'm glad you said that. because that's what a lot of business B2B people do, is they
Right.
load it with features. Now, me being in the copywriting world, I've learned that you lead with your benefits
Yeah.
and support with your features. So that's one thing I try to do in website copy framework with the homepage part of it. It's like, look,
Yeah.
let's slow down on the features a little bit. But those things are, you know, we're all adapting to a new world, and I don't know what that looks like yet for journalism.
Yeah. So if people want to learn about more about you, and if, like, say there's a journalist that's leaving and says, you know what, I can write website copy,
Mhm.
and so they're wanting to do something on the side or maybe start their own business. How can they learn more about how you can help them?
Uh, well, but my website is copyflight.com. So you can always reach me through that, or I'm pretty active on Twitter, TE Jones, and Facebook as well. Um, you know, um, just get in touch with me. I don't have any particular programs to help with people like that, but I have a lot of friends in different areas. Like, for instance, a friend of mine, Aman, she was on my Copy Chat show last year. Her team has launched a platform that basically sells courses for emerging entrepreneurs. So that might be, I might send you there and say, hey, there's some courses on that platform that'll help you get going. And it'll be a good place to go. Or if you want to learn more about copywriting in a casual way, go see Neville Medora's website or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
what I was thinking is that, like, um, your website, is it website framework or
Yeah, I think it's
website?
Web Copy Framework.
Yeah, web cop.
Um,
Yeah, so they
don't
can.
have it up at the moment, but it's webcopyframework.co.
All right,
I
so
think.
we'll include the links there. We'll include your Gumroad links, because so basically, I think for your white label stuff, I think it's less than $200, and
It's 199 currently, and so that was really designed for consultants and web developers. Certainly, a journalist can do that if they want. Um, you have what I'm referring to as a way to learn what the customer's core messaging is. I call it the messaging compass. That's what we're going to talk about next Thursday,
Mhm.
and I'm expanding on that even as we go, and trying to improve that. And then a few basically copy frameworks to do those pages, and they're
Yeah,
very simple. Uh, and it's nothing really new under the sun, but if you don't know much about it, I would
right.
say if you're a journalist trying to get into that and you want to learn, feel free to get the $97 copy. And
Mhm.
if you think, hey, I want to use this to do more sales, then get with me and I'll get you an upgrade price if you want to do the white label.
That's
I've
awesome.
done that before, so yeah.
That's awesome. And I know with Gumroad, you can create a special discount
Mhm.
code. Like, for example, uh, I know we're getting away, but we'll have all your links so people can find you. But so the guy who kicked all this off on Gumroad, right? For me, because I went from zero to hero overnight, literally, right? So he typed in his email wrong, right? And
Oh,
so he sends me a message on Facebook, says, "Hey, I can't access anything," right? So I knew he paid for it, right?
yeah, yeah,
So I said, "Well, here's the email you put in." He said, "I probably put in the wrong email."
yeah.
And he put in a W instead of an E. So
Uh-huh.
the keys are right next to each other on the
Yeah.
keyboard. So I'm like, oh, all right. But anyway, I was going to give him, a $47 off discount code so he can get it, because I know he paid for it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if people start off with the $97 version, get them
Yeah, I would
going.
just say, hey, I got the 97. I would like to use this to um, to do it as a consultant. Can you give me an upgrade price? I'm gonna do that. I did that originally. I don't know if I have an upgrade one now, but basically just give you $100 off or whatever, to match the cost of it. So
Right.
I've done that before. It's not a big deal. I've been amazed at some of the people who got the white label. I mean, I did anticipate folks like yourself, the web developers, a lot of them did. I offered an upgrade for almost nothing originally to the original people who bought it.
Yeah.
And then I have had people who consider themselves more coaches and consultants to buy it. One wanted to use it as a resource in her own course. And so, and then a conversion copywriter I know, decided she wanted to resell it. So we did a special reseller just for her. That's not on Gumroad.
Yeah.
That's a secret code.
Yeah.
But that was a different deal. But I was astonished that somebody wanted to resell it. I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah. And so that's like another thing on Gumroad, going back to that, Gumroad doesn't want you to resell products, right? They want you to, but,
no.
Yeah, but you can be an affiliate. So,
I have a few under the web copy framework. Yeah.
Right. So, right. And I've got some affiliates, for my product where, they can make a decent commission.
You get to set it as the owner, and I think I set mine at 30%, which is really generous.
Right. That's really good, because
if somebody's selling it for me, good night. I mean, I'm like, that's something work I didn't have to do. So
exactly. And so, and the one thing I like, and I know where this isn't about affiliate marketing, but it just kind of meshes beautifully, is that I've earned affiliate commissions myself, and what I love about that is, like, I didn't have to go out and create a freelance writing course.
Right.
I don't have to pay.
Exactly.
Like you talked about, one of the benefits of Gumroad is, like, if you wanted to put a course on Teachable or as a Kinjabi,
there's a bunch of them. I have a Teachable account, actually.
I mean, if you want to put your content up there, you're paying decent money month in and month out, regardless of what's coming in. So Gumroad is going to take a nice cut out of what you sell, but they're only taking it out if you sell. I don't have.
They do have the premium plan, and I don't know if I know there's a $10 a month. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not on it, but at some point it might become worth it.
Yeah.
Well,
if they could get to the point where, they've already, you can already sell membership packages.
Yeah.
So you could really do a course. Now the socialization part of it would be up to you somehow. So that's another thing to consider. But they're improving it, and I have no qualms at all with them. And I may not completely abandon it, especially for web copy framework. I was just looking for a way to possibly handle that in-house, but it may behoove me to stick with it. So I'm going through that process right now of trying to decide what I want to do and how I want to do it. So,
and that's the beautiful thing, that, we don't have to have it all figured out, and I'm thinking in terms of, like, my journalist friends, right? When you leave to start your own thing, or you start as a side hustle, right? And it's, as a journalist, it's hard to do a side hustle because of potential conflicts of interest, but you don't have to have it figured out. You can start on Gumroad, then move over to Teachable, or like a Fresh LMS, LearnDash. You can do a self-hosted deal.
It's a great starting point, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to figure it out. You change, you evolve as you go along. Yeah. All right, Todd. Hey, I appreciate your time so much. It was wonderful getting to pick your brain. It was good talking to you earlier before we started recording. And hey, I wish you well. Thanks. Take care.
Thanks for having me, Bobby.